Hey, it's Friday, and it's time for We Gather.
Hey everyone,
What a week it has been.
what a week
Wow.
it has been.
Where are we? It's nearly the end of October.
It is.
Wow. And it's like a whole month, really, since we had that gathering in Spain, and so much has happened in the time since.
Yeah.
Lots of opportunity to be with other friends and celebrate Martin Lika's birthday, which he's still talking about. He really enjoyed that. All that time we got to spend with Alex and a bunch of other people, which made it incredible. And then on our way out of Spain, we drove through France and stopped with John and Lucy, talked with them about some plans to do like a musical event in England, which unfortunately won't include Alex because travel reasons. And then we're in Dorchester or near Dorchester, and there's lots of things coming up. And I'll maybe talk about some of the things that are coming up, but maybe we want to talk a little bit about the week that has been. I have put out a few videos, one video I think yesterday. We have we've been lucky enough to be in this place called Cerne Abbas, and it's got this large carving of a man that is in the chalk, and it's meant to be like, some say, the ancients say that it was Hercules, right? No?
Yes.
No. No?
Yes.
I thought it was the other guy, Atlas. No?
No, you're getting very confused with Atlas is the...
Is that the comet?
The comet that they say is...
Or the rocket?
Yeah.
Or whatever that stuff is. And we've had some wildlife kind of incidents over the last couple of days. Maybe I'll talk about that later. But maybe Andrea wants to.
Well, I mean, I think it's affirming for me, one personally, but then to hear other people say, not that it's affirming that other people are having a hard time, but more that that we all are experiencing something that's similar, even though it's in our own unique lives or in our own unique way or on our own unique journey. But the energy, the cosmology at the moment, I have to stop with saying this. Dave wrote me a thing today that was posted, I think, by Amanda Vollmer on, what the Bible's actually on. And there's many people who have spoken about this. I can think of, what's that guy who used to do the... a long time ago, early Flat Earth. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, Rob Skeeper.
No. Where the numerology, and he also put the astrology to the Bible.
Oh, you mean Santos? No. Oh, Gnostic Academy.
Yeah.
I mean that guy.
Yeah.
Get his name right now.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, I think anyway, it doesn't matter. But many people have spoken about how actually the Bible or the religious teachings are actually referring to astrology. And I still find myself talking to plenty that roll their eyes.
Yeah.
And I understand that because we have been so programmed to believe it's just some horoscope in our local newspaper that's really, how can it be possible? And I also know that maybe there's some of us that are supposed to reconnect to that so that we can share that with others, or bring back that remembrance. And that goes for lots of different schools of knowledge. And I'm still learning, and I'm still reconnecting to that, I'm still remembering. But for me, when I hear the what Dave was reading today, and then more importantly, this goes back to what I started in the beginning, when I experience the energy in my body, and it shows in is in my life, the experiences that come up then are, and people in situations are then able to trigger those experiences or those feelings or those energies in my body. And then I look at the astrology and it's right on point. And not just for me, for Dave, for clients, for and so when people say, oh, it's been a tough week, yes, it has. The astrology has been off the charts.
What did Alex say at the beginning? What a year this week has been.
Yes.
There's been so much going on, and it's interesting to hear you say that, Alex, because I know obviously you've been busy with one thing and another, but I just think that the astrology, the energy is potent at the moment. It just feels like that to me, and I'm just taking my time to find stillness, because there's a lot of noise, isn't there? There's so much noise in the world, and I think we have to find stillness if we're going to find the right path for ourselves through this miasma.
Well, the thing is, with the cosmic energy or astrology, or maybe something way more spiritual than we like to give it credit for, the point of it is for our alchemical process. It's for our integration. It's for our expansion. It's for our. It's happening for us, not to us. And that has been a huge part of my journey and my healing and my ability to step towards it rather than do what we do, and that is try and fix it, change it, disassociate from it. And don't get me wrong, I don't get that perfect. I sometimes want to do and still do all the things that try and fix it or get away from it or make it better. But it's heavy at the moment, and it's heavy for a reason. One, it's that time of the year. We've hit Scorpio season, and every year Scorpio season is super intense. And of course, it depends on where Scorpio is for you. It depends on what alignments you have going on. But we also have Pluto in Aquarius, which has just gone direct at 1 degree, and it is very loud at the moment. And Pluto wants to show what's hidden that is stopping us from being in our highest expression. And it's in Aquarius. So Aquarius is, how can I be free to be in my expression of my own uniqueness, yet at the same time know that I'm part of a community, part of something bigger. What is Pluto is a collective energy, but what is how does this affect the whole? But yet I'm unique, and yet I am not only unique, but I can be my own uniqueness, and I can be brave enough to, or courageous enough to be in that expression, but from an integrated, healed place. And so there's Pluto in Aquarius, and then we have the Sun just moved into Scorpio. And Scorpios, let's go to the shadows. Let's go to those dark, shadowy places. So if people have been feeling that pull inwards, like I just need to be in my cave. I just need to. It's a very feely energy. And so we've got the Sun there, we've got Mercury there, we've got Mars there, we've got soon to have Venus there in Scorpio. Mercury is about to go retrograde in Sagittarius and then back into Scorpio. Today the Sun was square Pluto in Scorpio and Aquarius. We've also got a water trine, so there's lots of water around at the moment. There is Neptune has just hopped back into Pisces at 29 degrees, which is a completion degree. So, and Pisces is also very feely. In fact, all the water signs are, and so something wants to complete with Neptune, and Neptune is the dissolver of what's standing in our way, what is illusion and what is real
is real. I'm going to, sorry to interrupt you there, my love. You were on quite a
no,
thing,
let me
but-
just finish, and
okay,
then you can
okay.
talk
Then
about
I'll-
the Israel. So there's a water trine with Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer, Jupiter and Cancer. So the point is that there is a lot of energy that wants us to, put it this way, there's no more veil, there's no more hiding. We have to face our own shit. We have to face our own shadow, and the world out there is reflecting back, whether that's be in our relationships, whether that be in the world, whether that be in any given situation. It's an opportunity for us to see something and reflect, well, okay, what is this trying to show me? What is this that's still living in me that needs to be healed, alchemized, brought to completion, brought to wholeness? And the energy is, I'm going to say it's inviting us, but actually it's not. It's gonna make you. And I'll just end with this. I think, there's so much talk about AI. I think the difference between us and any form of technology that is man-made is that we feel. Everything. We feel the full spectrum of expression, from pure joy all the way to pure grief. And that is one thing that no technology, man-made technology, can do. And it is, I believe, our greatest power when we can feel, because that means more than likely, if we're feeling, that we're accessing our heart, which, in my opinion, is where we access our true essence. And so the energy of the moment is like screaming loud. Are you willing to look at it? Now you can do your Israel.
Yeah. So this picture here, people will probably recognize that is the so-called White House. And I see a lot of red brick there beneath the façadery.
You sound like Russian vids. Comment section.
Oh, don't mention that. The guy, the other day I did a video where I went further with the Charlie Kirk name than Russian vids had done. I haven't watched all his videos on it, but one of the last I'd seen at that point was where he'd referred to Charlie Kirk, so he's lying, there's the lion. I'd said in my video, well, yeah, I see that, and oftentimes, RV will pick out the lie and remind you that it's there, but I've gone deeper. Char being to burn, and Kirk is church, Old English for church, and so I'd added a little bit to the thing. I kind of hoped RV might, for some reason, see it, and I get this guy in my comment section. I'm a Patreon of RVs, and you're insulting him by whatever, or stealing from him. I'm like, dude, I'm not stealing from him. Anyway, I've done 20 hours live with Russian vids, so we know each other. No, I wasn't stealing from him. And then I said to the guy, listen, if you want to come at me with this kind of attitude, I will block you, if you comment again. And he comes back and he says, I'm going to tell RV. I'm like, wow, that feels like a school child, really having such a fascination with RV that he couldn't see that what I was offering was just a little bit more information that I thought is interesting, if you're into looking at bricks and numbers and all of that sort of thing. But anyway, back to the white.
But isn't it interesting that, again, someone cannot give a view that is their view with and we're seeing this so much.
Well, I wasn't
in
even
social
contradicting
media.
anything.
But you were giving
a view.
You were giving a view. But you see, there's this insistent that we all have to agree with each other. We don't. We're all unique, and we can have a view, and someone can have a view on something, and another can have another view on something. But this is the Aquarius, right? We're unique, but we're actually all in this together.
That's the crazy thing. I mean, obviously, there's got to be room on the table for the the non-human they live conversation. But yeah, we're all in this together, even that lot. And here we go. So it's interesting. And the only reason I brought this east wing or whatever that they're demolishing is because they're turning it into a ballroom, or it was a ballroom, and Baal is Baal, and all the kind of stuff that's, people are either like hiding from or we're seeing is designed to create this Baal thing. Now here, this I found really fascinating, and I read it to Andrea, so I'll read it to you guys quickly. This Amanda Vollmer had reposted from a guy called Andrew Aponic. So he says, before any supposed Holy Land, Israel was not a place. It was a concept, a conglomeration. It was the combination of some of the largest cults in ancient time born out of Egypt. Cults that still exist, but are interwoven with other cults and newer control systems. Having said all that, Israel is the formation of the solar cult. And I'd never really kind of understood this in all my research. And so I found it fascinating enough to want to share it here. So the solar cult, the lunar cult, and the Saturnian cult. We've all obviously had the Satan, Saturnian, Saturday cult. The heads of each of these cults, when combined, we all know this, are what create the word Israel. Isis, head of the lunar cult. Ra, head of the solar cult. El, head of Saturnian cult. As Egypt grew over time, there were 7 major cults, but 4 of them, 7 major cults in 7 days of the week. All the 7s, colors of the rainbow. But 4 of them rose to prominence. I wonder if we can name them. And 3 of them combined, as mentioned, minus the stellar cult. The stellar cult being obviously the astronomy people. Astrology, sorry. So when they realized that they'd fare better, the stellar cult, when they realized that they fare better than constantly competing and risking complete obliteration. So this is your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday people, right? As an aside, it's amazing how even the darkest groups of people know how to cooperate, but we can't get our shit together. As Voltaire once noted, when it comes to the worship of money, everyone is of the same religion. Money, by the way, etymologically speaking, comes from mono, eye, one eye, or the pineal gland. In other words, money is now our God, as it replaces our worship of and connection to the divine through the pineal. That is why there is a one eye at the top of the pyramid on the back of the $1 bill. You'll also notice that the one eye apex is actually separated from the pyramid, and that's to symbolize the separation or disconnection from the divine that the worship of money has facilitated. The predators at the top of the pyramid control our perceptions of our connection to the divine through various control systems. So, this is really where our work is. Our connection to the divine is, in my view, one of the most powerful gifts, that understanding that we're not on a globe, understanding that the earth is an electromagnetic entity in which we are central, really helps bring home this connection to the divine through various control systems, namely religion, government, and the monetary system, and of course subsystems like the media, public education system, etc. Nevertheless, what we predominantly see today is the solar cult, son of God, aka Son of God cult, Christianity, which worships the sun and celebrates, we know this, on Sunday. Saturnian cult, aka Judaism, which worships Saturn and worships on Saturn Day. When it is said that Jesus walks on water, you've probably heard this before, what's being referred to as the Son of God is its reflection on the water when the sun is setting, not a literal man walking on water. And of course, for the sun to reflect across a body of water, it would need to be flat. You can't reflect light around a bend. Although many Globers would love for that to be true. As I'm sure many of you know, the Bible is very much allegorical and not literal. The deepest roots, however, are astrotheological, that is. The ancient religions that worship the sky are spoken of, but not in literal terms. Virtually every passage is a nod to the planets, stars, moons, their alignment in the sky. Of course, this guy believes in the globe. So, yeah, I just thought that was something that was interesting to share with you. I hope you found that somewhat enlightening.
Can I just, like when you were saying our connection to the divine, for me, that we're I get the sense, whether we're, especially in the spirituals, like we have to do something to have a connection with the divine. We have to, and this sort of stems out of our trauma and programming, I think, from religion, is that we have to be spiritual. We have to perform some sort of
penance.
No, we have to perform some sort of, we have to do something to connect to divine. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is maybe it's not that at all. Maybe it's just being. I think we already are divine. I think we already are worthy. We already are whole. We already are those things. It's more about returning to that. It's more about remembering that. It's more about integrating that. Than that we have to find something, search for something, do something, be something.
Apologize for something, maybe. Well, I mean, we can apologize to people that we've wronged.
Be good, pray more, meditate more, none of these things are bad. Praying and meditating, none of them are bad. And, even money is not bad. It's that we have this need to kind of get somewhere, even healing, right? I need to heal. It's like well, actually we need to integrate, we need to remember, we need to bring balm to something that has caused us pain.
I'm gonna make a coffee.
But it's it's not there is no path. There is no where to get to. There's nowhere. It's
no destination.
And I have to say, this is something that I've been experiencing the last couple of days. Is my thing that I'm noticing for me is this like I need to be doing something so that I can get to that place that I'm needing to get to. And, I know that it's a mechanism that I learned very young. It's like, I've got to try. I've got to really try, be this thing or get to that place. Or, because if I don't, then something, something's going to happen. Or something's not going to happen. And so there's this, there's often this panic, or otherwise it's the opposite. We're going to collapse and go, well, it's not going to happen, so I'm just not going to, I'm just going to collapse into it. So, and I've noticed that for me, that really what I am truly needing is time to, like Dave said, to just be. And for me, that's when I am able to feel, actually. And of course, that's obviously what I'm trying to get away from, is those feelings that are already there.
Death and rebirth.
Yeah, they're already there. Those feelings.
Like the old moon that we just went through to the new moon is a death of a cycle, and in the woman's, I think it's very obvious. There's a ovulation and all that, and I think there's something energetically happening in this world. Has always been, of course, but maybe it's getting stronger. Maybe we're more aware of it. Maybe it's simply psychosomatic, schematic. But I do believe that the energies, the signs and the seasons, that stuff is true. And the people who run this game, who try and steer your story, they are very much tied into that.
Well, they're connected to it. They understand it. Pluto actually, which is, like I said, very loud at the moment, is always, but it's it's just
everything's
gone direct.
On time.
It's just gone direct, and Pluto is death and rebirth. Pluto, that's he wants to take you to the depths so that you can let go of what is not truly in your highest alignment. And of course, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and governs the 8th house, which is death and rebirth. So yes, there are always micro death and rebirths and macro death and rebirths. And actually, we're in the northern hemisphere anyway. We're in autumn, which is metal, which is the lungs, which is why people start to get coughs and colds. But it's like that's where grief sits. That's where the letting go happens. That's why the trees are letting go of their leaves. They're letting go of what was last year and what is not needed anymore. And that's the same for us. We're no different. So that's the Scorpio bit. It's like what's there that's not it's not you. It's not your true nature. What needs to be released? What and in the northern hemisphere, and that's certainly been our experience. We had this expansive summer. It was just this incredibly busy and great time, and now we're going into that period where you go into the decline, you're going into the autumn and then into the winter, and it's like you start to digest what's happened this year and what you need to keep and what you need to let go of, and that's happening all the time.
And it's one of the interesting things about that is the southern hemisphere, with them with the sun moving towards them, it seems like it's the opposite. Exactly how the sun works is another conversation, of course, but that people on the southern side are now waking up from their slumber and getting on with business. I feel like that's one of the weird things to your body, I guess, if you travel from north to south outside of season. But yeah, no, I think that is right, is that we're meant to be doing that, and at the same time, like going through epicycles, more mini cycles within the year, of course, of, opportunities to expand and go outwards, and opportunities to.
Well, that's the moon every month, right?
Yeah.
Every month we've just had a new moon where the moon, there's no moons, there's no energy at all. And that's why people feel tired or can't sleep properly or whatever. And I think we're like day 3 of the new moon, so it's just starting to gain some of its, energy back.
I woke up at 6 this morning, and normally we're up by then or before then. But the reason I preface what I'm about to say is so that but people think, you're going to be lying in. But I do think that the alarm clock is like when you take the pill, when you're a woman and you take the pill, is that you force your body into a certain rhythm, and may not be quite the natural rhythm. When they push up, they get a lot of pregnant ladies to induce the birth, rather than allowing the natural rhythm. So the alarm clock is a little bit like that, and when you have the 9 to 5 life, then you're forced, whether you like it or not, to.
Well, also lighting, right? Even the lighting we've got on here, it's not our natural light. Of course, now with screens or whatever, we have now got that light too. There was a woman, I think I might have spoken about this before, many months ago, who did a talk on Alex Zek about what do they call it? The sun, when you live to the sun in the day and the night, your circadian rhythm, and the light, what it's doing is it's getting your body to release certain I wouldn't say hormones at various times, and when that is out of sync, then it starts to have a knock-on effect to everything, which puts our bodies out of that normal. I think that when we sleep at night, obviously we know that that's when repair happens, and I think that's the same thing that happens in the winter, is that when we're in the winter and we're letting our energy kind of drop down and sink in and repair in preparation for the next year, and how important that is for us. As she says, as she's got this bright light staring at her.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's like if you were doing it all night until 3 in the morning or whatever, that would be well outside of your circadian rhythm, you know.
No, I was listening to a dentist, biological dentist, who obviously he is big into biohacking, but he said that is really interested in his health, and obviously his big thing is dental health. But he shares his overall things that he does to try and support his his body and his mind and his home and whatever. And he said one of the easiest things to biohack, and one of the easiest things to do, is to buy light bulbs, red light bulbs. They're not expensive. You just put them in where your lights are, and then you are not having to deal with this very unnatural lighting, and it makes a world of difference. It does make you look like you're in the red light district, but who cares? We know how good red light is for us. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that you can add.
Do, yeah. I don't know if people want to put in the comment section any of the health hacks they're going to be employing during the winter, assuming you're in the northern space. I want to say thanks, Angela Baby Carson, for sharing this, because I noticed that somebody has come along. The glasses I'm wearing are not actually, they don't feel that clear today for some reason. Hey, Tony Whitcomb, nice to see you, mate. And Festivus, nice to see you. Oh, Jolly Man, nice to see you. I think Jolly Man is also on Trinity, on the TikTok. I'm on TikTok, you know, and I mean, I don't know how the numbers count. You know, someone might watch 3 seconds or 1 second and you get a thing, or a count. But the counts are definitely, easier to come by than they are here on the old tube. Well done for planting all those apple trees. We actually just scored a nice few kilos of apples, which we boiled down, and we put a spoonful or 3 on the yogurt, or yogurt, as they say in this country.
We cooked it with a little bit of cinnamon, and it feels exactly what we're supposed to be eating right now. It's interesting, well, not interesting.
Tony,
incredible.
seeing you there reminds me that I am going to do some street activism tomorrow, and I'll let you know when I get there where I am and all that. But I'm going to do some street activism, so look out for that. I'm sure I'll be able to muster up 3 or 4 hours. It's quite cold now, so we'll see how we go. Nate says, I'm sorry, I'm slow. Much love. We're going to purge this experience henceforth, so that suffering is optional. No one entity should be unnecessarily subjected to suffering just to power this reality. I mean, the unnecessary suffering is the key for me there. You don't want that to happen, if at all possible. I think I have to tell you the story from today. It's just kind of heartbreaking story where. So you might have seen my video from yesterday where we came across a deer in the field that had died, an adult female, and we then later saw a smaller buck, like a 1-year-old buck, run sort of into the forest towards the area where the dead mother was, or the dead buck was. I can't be certain, but anyway. So today I take the dogs for a walk about a mile from the house and into a large field that is allocated by, or belongs to the council, the local authorities here, and they've allocated as a dog sort of friendly field, and it's huge. It's like 400 meters by 400 meters, large field. And so I get into this field, and I'm like, yep, the fence seems pretty good. I haven't checked the whole thing, but there's a sign up saying this is where you can leave your dogs, off the lead and whatnot. So I let the dog off the lead, right? and the dog whistles around for 30 seconds and then bolts to the far corner of the field and is gone. I'm like, oh no. Well, cut a long story short, I end up chasing it across 3 long fields through a forest where I find the 2 dogs mauling that baby deer. And I dragged them off. Well, I took them off. I took them away, and I think the deer was wounded such that it may or may not survive the night. I tried to get up while I was there, but it was scared of the dog, so I scarpered. But I was absolutely gutted that it happened. But that is kind of like what goes on in nature. In nature, that happens. But the thing of unnecessary suffering, it's like people do not realize that a lot of the imposition that we feel, a lot of the strictures and so on are brought about by people who believe that they're doing well. I was thinking today about like Catholic nuns and stuff like that. You've got these people in certain organizations, and through the twisting of time and what have you, and their own psychology and so on, they end up doing some pretty dreadful stuff. These, even when I worked in government, you come across these programs that are designed to, well, we have this problem here, so how do we come up with solutions to engineer this as an outcome. So I was kind of involved in that myself. But so no, I think I have to say, I mean, imagine a scenario where this world was just like peace, love, and harmony, and all of that sort of thing. And it's kind of, I think it's maybe unrealistic. Sorry for stuttering so much for that, but really, I think it's unrealistic to expect that, given the way that we are, given the history that we have, it's unrealistic to expect that. However, you can find a heaven-like experience here despite all of that. I think that is the key, is for us to be in a sort of more heavenly state. Not that everything's going to be like hunky-dory and never have problems. You're never going to have a blocked toilet, but it's how you deal with that.
Can I offer something with regard to that? I think that a lot of our suffering is actually our own resistance to life, because it's our own resistance to actually taking responsibility for how we feel, or being willing to be curious, or even seeing life as that it's happening to us, not it's happening for us, not to us. And people go, oh, but what about it? Yes, I'm not for a second saying, but Dave and I having a chat about this, that whatever we are willing to look, our own shadows, we are feeding into the collective field. We have our own field, and then we're feeding into a collective field. And what when we see change is when we are returning to ourselves, taking back our power, and and we no longer give that power outside of ourselves, even if it's through a belief system. You're smiling at Alex's.
Alex,
ferment some grapes, and
voila,
we have some cognac.
And then Tony had a Tic Tac and he swallowed it. It's Tic Tac, yeah, not TikTok. I saw a comment about quantum speed of light, and I just wanted to. Did you want to?
No, I just wanted to finish off about suffering. That suffering. Actually, most of us, and this is unconscious, and this is in our cells. Actually, I saw a post where we're born with generations of trauma in our cells, and I think that the suffering happens when we don't actually believe that things can work out. we already walk into life believing that things aren't going to work out for us.
And you know what? You end up being as miserable as the farmer next door. The farmer next door has got like a herd of cows for beef and land. I mean, beautiful land in these valleys or mountains, you know, and she is as miserable as, like, you know, yeah, she just been slapped by a 5-day-old fish or something. And because, you know, I've engaged with her around the deer situation, you know, and it's like, it's, you know, I would, not that I necessarily want to live in this plot, but, you know, if you gave me that, well, I mean, you shouldn't have to give me that, because my joy should come despite having or not having the farm.
I think what it proves is that having doesn't give you joy, and
No.
it's not about having. We think that if we, I mean, you know, all of us, I think that, oh, if we have that thing over there, or we get there, or we feel this, or the relationship is that, or if we, then everything's going to be okay. When actually, it's deeper than that. It's like what we already arrive at life believing. We already arrive at life believing we're not worthy, or we can't have what we want, and these are old belief systems, whether they are even ours, that there are generations of, you know, and we know that the belief system of programming around religion is that we're born sinners, right? And we've got to spend the rest of our lives repenting and trying to be the best we can be, or otherwise you're not going to reach heaven. And so even that alone is this belief system that I can't actually have it unless I do something about it.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that to Alex, this is real coffee, mate. I haven't got fermented grapes, you know, tucked away in the form of cognac in here. This is actually coffee. Distilled water, coffee, and some cream. So I wanted to say that that's one of those interesting things, isn't it? Because, like, you know, Alex, you should be like quite happy to go, well, I'm enjoying a little bit of cognac during the course of this conversation. If you were sitting around the table with me, you'd be drinking a little cognac, so why not through the course of a conversation online, if that's your bag, you know? I mean, obviously, if it's 8 a.m,
Well, you're drinking coffee at
you know, well, I'm drinking coffee at 8 p.m, so which most
and
people
not
go,
just
that's
like a little instant.
that's a
teaspoon.
serious
It's
cup of coffee.
It would make a lot of people's. It would wake them up.
Yeah, but it's you know, anyway. So, but we should, you know, because it's like I've sometimes wondered about my, you know, cannabis smoking. Like, if cannabis was legal all these years, would it have been as appealing? Because, you know, there is that element of doing something, you know, which you're told you can't do, you know, or people are going to frown on, and then you go, fuck you, man, I'm going to do it anyway, you know. And when you're more at peace with it, then it's like, it's not so much of a thing. I feel like that. I feel like if I had my own plantation of weed, I might end up smoking less, because it's like the candy shop thing. You know, if you worked at the chocolate factory, you'd barely ever touch chocolate, you know. And it's kind of, it can be a little bit like that.
I don't think we do anything without there being a reason for it. And so for me, it's more like, and none of it is bad. It's just like, and I can only go from my own experience. When I'm reaching out for something, you know, it's like, what am I needing right now? Is it actually this, or is this just a solution to a problem? Or is this just giving me something external that I'm actually needing anyway? So, I mean, that's just what you've got to be curious about.
Yeah.
It's not for me to say, you know, it's everything. It's, you know, I know that screens for me often are, and this is starting to make, you know, I'm starting to see the root to this more and more, but that screens are a way of me going into a form of collapse, or my nervous system going into a form of shutdown, because there is something there is something, that my nervous system is struggling with, and and that can be that we grab the chocolate, or that we do some shopping, or go to the gym more because we want to make sure that if we're moving, or we clean the house extra hard, or we don't clean the house extra hard. That's the interesting thing about the nervous system in collapse, is actually it's often seen as lazy. When someone says, "Oh, you're lazy," or "I'm lazy," it can be that the nervous system has actually gone into collapse, and it's not that you're lazy. It's that it's such a familiar nervous system way of being.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, it's interesting because it can go both ways. Super lazy, super like I'm busy all the time. I just I can't stop.
Totally.
Or I don't want to.
I mean, what I have noticed is actually that I and especially because there's a lot of like the Aquarius energy is all very in the head, and Gemini. And often we can be in our head, and being in your head is also a trauma response. In your head, thinking about it, what can I do, and so to find that real, not necessarily to make the head stop, but just to be centered and in your body, and being in flow, and actually sometimes not doing anything, just being.
Wow. To be or not to be. That is the question. No idea. I think that might be the whole game here. Is like they want us not to be. Maybe that's what maybe that's the whole game, is not to be.
Well, I also
and
think
if we
that
are being, if we are being, then we are less. It is interesting, because I wanted to say just now, judge ye not, lest ye be judged yourself. And I strive towards being of low judgment. You know what I mean? Where I'm not in a place of judging. And I think when I was, like when I was helping those homeless folk in Durban, in South Africa, they could tell that I had absolutely no barrier in my heart, no judgment, no line of, oh, how dare you, how bare, we'll look at you kind of thing. No, none of that existed anywhere in my field. I wasn't hiding it, and pretending to be something. I was actually, and connecting with that. And I had people, even, Martin Leaker said to me the other day, that one time when you were talking to that girl you were talking to that girl, and I wept listening to her talk, or you talking to her, and I know I was getting a lot of support from my YouTube channel at that time, the previous channel, because people could connect with that. I was meeting people without the need for judgment. However, it's not to say that I am not like me, that farmer lady, like,
Can I ask you a question though?
Please.
Do you judge yourself?
Well, yeah. Sometimes.
Again, it's this focus on what am I doing externally, but actually what is being internalized.
Would it be fair to say? Yeah.
How many people actually are? There's so much shame in our nervous system, so much shame in our body around who we are.
So I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question then.
But we're in conflict with each other.
I want to ask you this question, which is that then, if I am looking over the fence and being of judgmental mind, is it because I am super judgmental of myself?
Yes.
So I'm hiding a judgment of self. Because when I am the father who makes say I'm a Muslim father, and I make my daughter cover up at age 12 or 13, I make her cover up, it's because of an inherent sense of shame that my daughter might be seen in a community setting without the proper coverings. So it's actually my shame that forces me to kind of be, and then, my daughter comes home and there's lipstick on her face.
It's not just, shame is just, shame is it's a byproduct. Shame is actually anger turned back on itself, turned internalized. And underneath that shame is probably fear, there's probably pain, there's probably grief. Yes, and the reason I say that
insecurity. What about insecurity? Because I think sometimes we control out of insecurity.
But what is insecurity?
I'm not enough.
Yeah, I'm not worthy. I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. There's normally a I am something, some
Because
statement.
men can oftentimes be insecure, and then they mask that insecurity by controlling all the situations around them, such that that insecurity doesn't get triggered. Hence, the rich man will struggle to get through the eye of the needle.
Yeah, and that's entangled in shame, and that's and you know, shame wants you to hide, but it doesn't want the outside to see. So that's why I talk about righteousness, because actually, when I feel wrongness and I feel shame for my wrongness, then I'm going to be righteous. So in other words, I'm right and you're wrong. And it's really their survival mechanism. So, you know, with compassion, they're what we've learned to protect ourselves, because probably very young. But again, I think this is something that we carry in our, you know, they like to say DNA, but carry in our field from generations of this sense of shame for our wrongness, or a sense of shame for not being good enough, or sense of shame for being too much. And then what were the consequences of the not being good enough, or being too much? Probably punishment, shaming, perhaps even annihilation or persecution. So and so we've learned all the ways, controlling behavior, righteousness, to survive, really.
Yeah.
That's why you know, people are so like, if you're not like this, then you're this. You know, it's like we have to try and control the outside, so that we think that it's all good, it's all safe.
See, so like the Muslim man, traditional Muslim man, never has to have his fear of his woman being looked upon by another man and somehow desired upon by another man, or that she might receive a compliment or perhaps act on something. So she never gets the opportunity to demonstrate her fidelity, and he never gets to overcome his or challenge his insecurity about her being the beautiful essence that she is.
But because he carries shame deep down of being told that unless he is A, B, and C, he won't make it to heaven. In other words, he's bad or wrong.
He can have 5 wives, some of them, you know.
No, I know, but you know, we focus
Again,
too
that's
much.
just a cultural thing.
No, it's not. It's a deep trauma. Culture and culture is a deep trauma that we carry around our wrongness, and that, you know, you're this like bad person, and you have to redeem yourself.
Yeah. Squirrel, hello mate, how are you? It all comes down to forgiveness. Squirrel was on another channel actually doing a talk for an hour and a half. I didn't watch it, mate, but
Wow.
I was impressed to see you getting out there, my friend. In fact, I was calling on Nathan Festivus to get his ass into the hot seat and come and start talking about his
Festivus
stuff.
has got such interesting
fascinating research
on astrology or astrotheology, and it's fascinating.
And it's like, you know, I know that there are darker entities that are trying at times to interfere with what people are doing and that kind of thing, but this is a spiritual war that we're in, or spiritual war is maybe not the right word, but it's a spiritual,
I think it is a spiritual war.
Okay, test that you know requires for us to, like the lion in the Wizard of Oz, to find our heart and to have that courage and to be like, look, I admit for our hand, like I do not want to say certain things about the, you know, the Z class, you know, the ionists, because you know, xylophonists, that's what I came up with today. The xylophonists, you know, and really, you know, go and necessarily talk that out. We know that there is a darkness here, and we know that we can't necessarily overturn that systemic darkness in the current time. What we can do is not enable it in our experience or in our world as much as
Can
we
I say
can.
something about the coming out, being seen though, and talking your truth or your what you feel is your medicine or your unique expression?
Yeah.
Is that again we carry a wound of, if I'm seen, then what is the meaning of that? What are the consequences of being seen? And
Yeah.
again, that's something that's probably, you know, more than just our lifetime. Whether it be punishment, will I be shamed, will I be wronged, will I be, you know, and these are not conscious belief systems around being seen. So, and of course, I think that's because we have Pluto and Aquarius, which is in opposition to Leo, which is the courage, the courageous, you know, that is being activated at the moment. You know, can we be seen? What comes up if you're seen? Even if that's in your, you know, just in a relationship, in a one-to-one relationship, or, you know, with, you know, can you be seen to having an opinion, or can you be seen to sharing your truth? And what do we fear? What comes up for us? Can we be curious about what comes up for us, and what meaning we've given to that? I know from my own experience, being seen for me meant shaming. It meant punishment, and it meant judgment. And so that is definitely something that, now it doesn't mean you just, you know, you see it and we have to start to be with the terror in our body. We have to start to be with the fear in our body, and allow it to be there, and feel it, really.
Yeah. Hey, bash those thumbs up if you don't mind. It'd be nice to get, we got another hour with you. It'd be nice to get a few more people in the conversation. I wanted to talk a little bit kind of to the men left brain stuff on, and so, you know, flat earth, you know, warriors will appreciate this conversation most. So I've been, you know, cogitating over the last few days about, you know, I've never really put too much effort into going out and trying to do an experiment that I could put on the YouTube, and, you know, 150 people see it, and most of them are flat earthers. So, you know, what's the point, really? And so I've never really put much effort into that, because it has always been about, you know, okay, so we know the earth is flat, now what? Anyway, having said all of that, I have been thinking about an experiment that would be pretty interesting and could be engineered. You know that experiment we did in the science lab where you've got, there's a proper name for it, I forget it now, where you've got like 5 tubes like this with water, and there are different shapes and different kind of, you know, sizes and whatnot, and then you can fill the water in at one end, and the levels will all come up equally at the same time, unless, of course, and I've seen Globers try to do this where they're so deceptive, is, you know, if you create like a really tight pipe where it requires a bit more pressure to force than the other water will allow, it would mean that the water might not rise as high in such a situation. Anyway, so you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, wow, imagine if you could erect a system that would give you, I hope the Russian vids types who are not here with it, obviously clearly the 666 was coming out there. That what you could do is, over a mile length, devise a similar kind of piping system where you could have, excuse me, the water come up at one side, and then obviously a mile away you could demonstrate how it's, you know, exactly the same height off the beach or whatever, because my thoughts were, you know, you get a 1 mile kind of strip of water that's exactly 1 mile, and you're expecting 8 inches, blah blah blah. Or maybe you could ask, you know, the boffins in the globe religion what it would be if it was just a quarter of a mile. How much would it be then? I know. I seem to remember once looking up. What about even 50 meters? Because even 50 meters should have a tiny. If you've got micron measuring systems, you should have a tiny amount of curvature in a 50-meter Olympic swimming pool. And it'll tell you, oh no, 50 meters too small to notice, and we're getting into you're too small, it's too big, blah blah blah, all of that stuff again. Anyway, so I took it upon myself to I was thinking about how I could make this work, and I've got some ideas to engineer that, blah, blah, blah. You could even then fire a laser onto a mirror that was set up on one side to show the water level here, and show that it matches on the other side. And a mile, we should hopefully be able to get a laser that wouldn't scatter in a mile. So what I did, this long story, was as a preamble to say what I did was I thought, what is the world's longest spirit level that you can find? And it turns out that in industry, even the longest you can get is only 3 or 4 meters in length. That's like an extendable one. Whoa, look at this. It's the best you can get. And it's only 3 or 4 meters in length. So
how big is your spirit level?
Well... So, yeah, well, hold on. It's flat, not fat. So anyway, so I go and Google this, and you've thrown me a little there, man. Yeah.
You go and Google what is the longest spirit level.
Yeah. And so one of the top answer that came up for me on my AI, I mean, I wasn't asking AI, I was on Google, and it just gives you this like AI response very quickly. And the first thing it said was, it's not quite the same as what I'm about to show you now, because I've gone on through a different browser. But this is what it says. This is what it says. Let me go and so I can read it. Loch Ness is often described as the world. If you don't know Loch Ness, it's a lake, and that's where the Loch Ness monster comes from. Story. It's the world's largest spirit level due to its ability to detect minute tilting. Okay, that's all. Minute tilting of the Earth's crust. This phenomenon occurs because the lake, which is 36 kilometers long, responds to the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun, causing its water level to rise by up to 1.5 millimeters. Which is absolutely nothing. I believe, obviously, that I haven't looked into the timings of that, but that's not the point. And what they're hiding here is, as you can see here, it says, Loch Ness is a giant spirit level. Now, we understand what a spirit level is. A spirit level is a tool used for leveling. There is no spirit level is bending, okay? It's got to be level, right? And they've used I haven't gone in and looked exactly how the scientists did this, but it was announced that, scientists, 2012, Professor Woodworth, they have basically, see what, I don't know if I can read any more of that. Okay, no, maybe later. Close that. Scientists have measured the way Loch Ness tilts back and forth as the whole of Scotland bends with the passing of tides. Okay, there's some bollocks in this, sorry about that. It's a tiny signal, seeing the way the water ends up. Let's see. When combined with the direct tug from the gravity of the moon and the sun. By the way, when have you ever heard about the sun being what causes the tides? But the surface goes up by 1.5 millimeters. Now, really, we're talking about like this much, and they're saying no. Well, that's because for some reason it's not as effective. The tide is, it might be like 20 foot, just like if you had to go from Loch Ness to the coast, maybe 100 miles. Now you've got a 15 and 20 foot tide, but they've got 1.5 millimeters, and now. If you were in a boat in the middle of the loch, which is 16, well, let's say it's 35 kilometers long, so you're 17 kilometers from the coast, from the beach, but it looks perfectly flat. According to them, it looks perfectly flat, but apparently, at 5 miles, the ship has gone over the horizon. say their precision measurement technique could be used in other lakes around the world to understand better how the Earth's crusts deform as a result of ocean movement. Now, guys, you know that the deep end and the shallow end of the pool can do whatever they like. The surface, level.
Someone by the name of Tim Foster has said level is not flat, Dave.
Yes, well, this is what they say. Level is no. I accept that. I mean, well, level could be like. Well, I mean, I think that what they've done is they've used kind of word supery to something could be level and not horizontal. I would accept that. But if something is horizontal, this is what we're talking about, really. I mean, if you're using a spirit level, you're generally always almost, you're either going to be putting something horizontal, vertical. You might be saying, but no, you're going to either be doing one of these kind of things, right, with a spirit level. The idea that it's not horizontal or, it's just wordplay. And they won't, this is where the globies will not go further. They'll just use everything else but to go, okay, because I'm saying, and I challenge you, if I had 3 Bitcoin to offer, I would say challenge you to prove that bodies of liquid.
He doesn't.
Not under any sort of force. You're talking about Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
Right. So not bodies of water, not under any kind of force or being shaken around, or wind is blowing from 1,000 miles away on the Mediterranean, causing a pressure system here to move over there, whatever. I was watching, when I was in the field today, I was watching how the wind was pushing in one of those water troughs that the sheep drink out of. The wind was fairly strong, and it was pushing the water towards the other side of the trough and creating a tide, which is what they see in the Mediterranean. Anyway, so no, look, I mean, it's really just disingenuous to want to say, oh, well, you can't say level, when you mean flat. I mean, if I've got a wall that's flat, right? But when I want to level something and it's horizontal, this is what we're talking about, horizontal, it's going to be, my brickwork or whatever is going to be parallel, if I've got it right, to a glass of water, to a swimming pool, to the ocean. It's going to be parallel. It might be at a different height, yes, but it's parallel. It's not hard, and it's only brainwash. It's only like the ego's desperate need to be on. Well, I mean, this thing I thought was in this, right. The team says the measurement was made to an accuracy of 0.1 millimeters. Basically, what they've done is they've been able to measure across the entire. They've called it. This is the BBC. It's a giant spirit level. And spirit level is used for leveling. Every piece of construction in the world has used a spirit level. Yes, in modern times they might use, laser leveling, but it's exactly the same thing. And any attempt by, anyone's ego to try and defend that is because they can't face that they've been lied to. So that's how that looks. I just wanted to share that with you. Did that feel good for me to do? Like what? He's offloading now.
No. He has been, obviously he spends a lot of time thinking about this stuff, so it's good for him.
Yeah, and I think that the experiment itself, like I felt like, okay, because I was thinking, how do I float a pipe a mile across water? And I have come up with some solutions for that. And then I realized, well, I wouldn't actually need to do that. I wouldn't need to do that at all, because I could take a mile length hose pipe, let it settle on the ground. It doesn't matter how it, the bottom of the crust that's flicking around like this according to their globe model. The moon is pulling on the crust. No, but it wouldn't matter that. What would matter was, like, as I lifted up both ends of the pipe, and let's say I lifted them both to 1 meter above the height of the shoreline. At the shoreline, it doesn't matter, 10 centimeters, doesn't matter. At the shoreline on both sides, a mile apart, I fill it up with water to 10 centimeters, and the other side should push through to 10 centimeters. We are talking about a mile of pipeline. So I wouldn't want it to go too deep, because I would imagine that, perhaps the force trying to get it all the way up on a big slope. But I think it's I know obviously that the result will be what we see with every experiment. I mean, every observation of water, when we see, the way water operates in a test tube situation. So that's that. I won't belabor that. But if anyone wants to get involved with me, Tony, you're a man who likes to get involved in these things. But if anyone wants to get involved with me in Squirrel, you might be able to come up with some ideas. If we want a location that we could do that. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, it has to be in water. We have to be, because if I simply did it over a stretch of flat land, people say, well, obviously the land is flat there. But the point is that water is meant to be, oh no, I don't believe this, but the water, according to the globe religion, is 8 inches in the first mile. Therefore, in theory, there should be like a 4-mile hump in the middle of the lake, or according to what flat earthers tell everybody in the world, that it's going to go down 8 inches to the other side. Except the guy standing on the other side is saying, no, it's going down 8 inches that way. It's ridiculous how we ever believed this crap. It's beyond me. Brian Mullins knew this. He is a smart guy. He had to jump off, didn't he? Is that my glasses? I must get the other glasses, because not a play on words, Dave. It's just true. I love you both, but what I said is fact. Is that level is not flat? Okay. Thank you. Oh, hi, Dean. Now I'm going to try. Is these yours? Mine?
Yes.
Oh, hey, Sarah. No, I can read now. Whoa. The 30th is supposedly the veil's thinnest of the year.
Yeah, can I say something about that? I think the 30th, and the 31st, where we're told to, have Halloween or whatever, I think is actually when the veil is thin. And I think that's Sam Hain?
Sorry to interrupt you, but the squirrel was speaking here. He said supposedly the Atlas I3, or whatever it's called, is closest to sun thing. Well, it'll ever be on the 30th of October, so professionals say. Any reading in the astronomy charts for that day, Andrea? And before you say, thanks for recording the moon with me, says Sea Lightning. We did that, and of course it was a daytime moon for me, and a nighttime moon for him. Impossible on the globey ball.
I don't know what the astrology is for the 30th. I can look, and I can do a little video and tell everyone. But of course we are in Scorpio, so Scorpio is where that it's going to all that dark, shadowy, esoteric, death and rebirth kind of stuff. So again, are we? We're celebrating something that's skewed on the 30th around Halloween. But I'll have a look, and if there's anything interesting, I mean, so much interesting energy at the moment. But that's what I would say about the 30th, that, we are in this, every year, we're in this Scorpion energy, which is that real pull into the underworld, your own underworld. So that would make sense for me, actually. Yeah, I don't know where Dave disappeared to. But I just to go back to Squirrel, I'll definitely I'll have a look. It's so interesting for me to look at the astrology and see how it ties into the world affairs, although if I'm honest at the moment I'm not particularly interested in what's going on out there. And so I tend to just go by how I'm feeling rather than what is going on the outside. Life is curating enough for me to do the work with.
A frozen lake with many levels in sync over 3 miles. I mean, the frozen lake thing is a really good one. Yeah. What was there was something else I wanted to share with you today. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the there's something pretty interesting and large on looming on the old thing for the world. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, and in terms of what I'm doing, I am. You guys remember the day a month ago? Seems like ages ago, but we were in Javier. It was the Friday of the Guru gathering, and I put my banners up in down at the beach, and Dave Weiss and a group of others came down.
Well, many came down, didn't they?
Many.
We had at least 30 at the dinner afterwards, so it must have been at least 30.
Well, yeah, I mean the numbers came and went,
Yes,
but
on the whole,
we end up this old couple come and talk to us, and cut a long story short, they run or own or produce a sort of online TV company in Switzerland, and they're pretty big in in that they cover so many different countries and languages, 80 languages they produce in. Anyway, I've got an interview with them coming up soon. I don't know, it won't be a live thing, but I will, once it's done, I'm sure, be able to get you the link for that. So look forward to that. I also ran into a guy, a professor, Dutch professor, who came up with this idea of Society 4.0, and he sent me his book, and he's got ideas of how a post-digital society. I think he understands the United Nations and the WEF, World Economic Forum, and WHO, and all of these things are supranational and are steered very much by vested interests who have their finger in the cookie jar all these years. And I think until you can see that, I think society is always going to struggle, given that the whole setup is designed to.
Well, and also I don't think we can recreate a new.
Did we finish that?
We can't create a new when we're not creating. We're still creating from unconscious patterns and trauma and belief systems. I don't think we. One simple thing is that most of us don't know how to be in conflict. Most of us don't know how to repair. Most of us don't know how to be completely truthful from from our true essence. Most of us are shit
I'm
at
a bit like that.
communicating.
Yep,
all
yep,
of us.
yep,
I'm not saying I am. I think that we're in the process of healing that, and most of us don't know how to lead ourselves, let alone lead anybody else. And I respect that there's some people that are further along in healing that or becoming more conscious. Not perfect, because I don't think that's how it's meant to be, but I think we've got a long way to go for us to start to recreate a new society or a new way of being in this world. At the moment, I still see, if I'm honest, women struggling with other women and men struggling with other men, and men and women who are in union still struggling. I think we, I'd love to say, let's just implement a new system and it'll all be fine. No, that's why telling your government to change and stop is not the point. The point is, until we learn or unlearn or heal or bring into consciousness and add that to the collective, I just think we're just taking one thing, and we've seen this in Flat Earth, right? You can know all this information, but you're still bringing your same shit, your same wounds, your same ways that you communicate or in conflict or try and survive, or the ego is still very loud. And I'm not digging anyone out for that. I think that's the journey we're all being invited to be on. But I don't think we're particularly ready to recreate something. I think we're in the death phase. We're in the letting go. Like, this is not working. I'm going to let this go. In fact, I think that's what this energy is asking us. Stop hanging on to those old identities. Stop hanging on to those old ways of being. Stop hanging on to those old belief systems. Because I understand why we do that. They're safe. They're all we know. They're familiar. There's that saying, you're in a cage, but actually the door's open, and it's way safer to be in the cage because it's what your nervous system and what the door's open. The moment you step into that vulnerable not knowing, where potential and possibility is, it feels very unsafe, very vulnerable. So we go back into the cage, to those old ways. And I think we're being called on right now to start to look at all of that. And it's on us. It's like, it's not the government, it's not this, it's not that needs to do that for us. Our health, our mind, our body, it's our responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like it matters. It should matter. We should get to that point where, like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, we are not doing the work for the others. And it doesn't matter that the others are not doing the work, or if they are doing it at a different pace. What matters is that we do the work on the I. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do think that there has to be a conscious effort to understand and harmonize in ways that we can, that element. In the way that we applied ourselves to learning about what we could learn about the way that this world is operating in the material. We need to be on, we understand the material better than most people alive today. But the spiritual,
or the energetic, and that's the hard part, because there is pain there is anger, there is grief, there is a sadness, there is a whole lot there that we don't want to go to, and we want to either be the victim or we're the perpetrator or we're the savior, and instead of, like, it's all within us. And I know that it sounds like that's all I say, but it's the truth, the world within. And then, of course, you need to respond to the outside world. But, I don't believe we're in the rebirth phase. I think we're in the death phase, and things have to fall away. And our own inner patriarchy, our own inner systems and structures and patterns and whatever need to be alchemized and
and also like the term pattern break, which came up recently for Alex, whereas to be doing things differently, and it will bring up challenges and it will cause growth.
Well, actually, it always feels really awkward to pattern break. It always feels really awkward to do something that's not familiar, and most of the time we tend to go back to the old way because it feels safer and less awkward, and we have to face perhaps fears that we've been running from or hiding from, and I think that's all of us. I think this is the journey we're on, and it's freaking uncomfortable sometimes, but I know from my own experience it is also where, like, this possibility sits.
I have to go and close the chickens in. I'll be back in 30 seconds or maybe a minute. Just say hello to Ian. I see Flat Earth Socials in the room. We'll see you on Tuesday, mate. I'll be back.
Oh, yes, Ian. Yes, we will be there on Tuesday, and anybody else is going to be able to make Tuesday. I'm not sure what special things you have planned for us on Tuesday, Ian, but it'll be good to see some people after our recent shenanigans in Spain. We have a whole lot of little things rumbling when it comes to things for next year. So it'd be good to speak to Ian about some of the things that we've got in the works. So yeah, it'll be good to be there Tuesday night and hang out with, it's normally a pretty good crowd. I think there's about 50 odd people, and it's nice to reconnect. It feels like with such a incredible experience reconnecting with people or connecting with people in Spain, and so yeah, we're looking forward to just touching back in a little bit on Tuesday. Are they all good? The chickens all good?
Chickens are good.
Good.
I'm back.
Um,
Yeah, so that's good. Well, yeah, we'll see you, Ian, and Lisa. And whoever
Pattern
else is
also
there.
means being complacent. And I'm not sure.
So there is a form of pattern break, right? So instead of being like, I think what you mean is instead of being like, oh, I have to kind of do it. It can also be like, okay, I'm not.
Yeah,
just
it's
gonna
and
allow.
it's against our programming to not try, right? Not try and do, and I mean, if anything, I think it happens long before that, but even school, it's like you have to be doing to be okay, to survive the education system. Otherwise, there's a whole lot of consequences for that. So
Nice to see you, Mark. I just wanted to show a little compassion there to Nate, spot on, Dave and Andrew. I wish I found a complementary partner and not Baphomet. Rachel, I can only imagine what that means.
can I just say something about that? I think I understand that if you have, I hate the word awake, because what does that even mean? Because I meet people who know information, and that doesn't, they think they're awake, and it doesn't. So I use that word very lightly. I think that what I've witnessed is that, in particular, the feminine, our programming, and again, I think this is generational, comes from the need to learn to be, firstly, not seen, and be obedient, and so the survival mechanisms to stay in that safety, because that's another thing for the feminine. The feminine requires safety to feel like they can let go, and of course that's so much of the internal work. So I just say that with compassion for the feminine, that and I see this a lot where the feminine has had to become over controlling, so as to feel safe, even though they don't, because they're unsafe. So there's this constant need to be in control, and that's the mind too. The mind will fight to stay in control. So I just want to throw a little bit of compassion in there for the feminine. I know it's particularly hard when you're in a relationship with someone else who is not willing or devoted or open to there being, or have the curiosity about what's actually going on for them in terms of seeing something So I know how hard that is, but I also understand that for the feminine and how the mind works, that it will hang on to what it knows because that is safety.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, and this is, that if the masculine in a relationship has not done the nervous system work, then a woman also knows that, and so therefore they won't let their guards down. And I'm not now going, oh, it's the man's fault, it's that the woman is not. No, but it's we're co-regulating. When you're in a home together, you become one field, and if we have that nervous system, those nervous systems that are still in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, we're feeling that, even though we're not necessarily conscious that we're feeling it. We are.
Yeah.
When I went to the supermarket the other day, the energy was, it was tangible. It's like, I can feel the suppression and fear and just this really heavy energy in the supermarket. It really feels, it's like, it's not. When I was unconscious to it, it was, I would be in the supermarket looking at all the labels and whatever, and I just want to in there and out of there as soon as possible, just go and get what I need and get out of there.
Yeah.
It feels very heavy, and of course, there's still some mask wearing, because I know that story remains a trickle in the media, and if you already have that fear, then, that's going to feel...
Did you see a double mask?
Yeah.
Double mask?
Yeah.
You see that occasionally, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the vast majority, but
No.
we still see it. And I know that occasionally when I have gone to look at the news, there's always some sort of story
We
related
drove past
to that.
someone we were stuck in traffic in Spain, I think. Remember, we were stuck for an hour in that traffic jam for some reason. And someone we slowly trundled past had a mask on. I actually took a photo of them, in their windows closed, mask on. Wow. But judge ye not.
No,
lest ye be
and
judged,
actually compassion, right? Because that person has got a lot of fear. And I say this with compassion because I have a family member who, who took some of the interventions and her life, and she knows she has. And I was thinking about it the other day, it's like, it's not only, she's now having to deal with the trauma of having taken those interventions, and that her life is, it makes me really sad actually, that her life has been diminished, and
so many
she's
stories like that.
yeah, I mean, we're talking to people all the time. Dave spoke to someone who's just three family members are
Yesterday, she has 3 family members who've either passed or have had significant health challenges.
But how traumatic to find out that the system that you trusted or that you thought was going to be your savior has actually harmed you. That's incredibly hard to come to terms with.
That's why they still believe in the globe.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard...
We have also got an exciting sit coming up, which Dave is very excited about. He's going to have the opportunity to use a
flight simulator. So, wait, I think it even has like surround, that will like NASA do to fake that they're in space. It's got like a surround thing on the outside. So
well, I think
we'll
Nathan will definitely be able to give you some
pilot Nathan,
yeah, some
yeah, actually that's a great idea. I might get Nathan to teach me from afar how to fly a simulator. It's a full-on rig, man. It's a proper rig. So I'm gonna see if I can, like, there might be a way to prove. I don't know how one does that. Maybe Nathan and others can think about this, but prove that, I'm making there is nowhere hidden in the system, a sort of gravitational attachment to holding the plane to do that.
Why do you need to prove?
Well, I mean, one is always looking for that kind of that final experiment, right? That. I mean, I know obviously for the religious, they'll never ever give it up. Some of them will never give it up. But to have like some slam dunks. I mean, I know obviously it should be so obvious.
Didn't you listen to something a few weeks ago that said we don't need to save people?
No.
And we don't, and actually,
We don't.
if we feel that we need to, I think there's one thing wanting to go out there and share a truth that you think is important, and do that from a place of your intention is to be in service to others by being, expressing. But I think needing to prove to someone, or needing people to agree with you, or even want to take your information on. I think this is what we're seeing. This is what I'm seeing in social media by the bucket loads. It's like someone will express themselves with authenticity, and then they'll be barraged with vitriol and it doesn't matter what you're talking about. It can be something really benign and simple, and
Yeah, that got Festivus onto his keyboard. Full motion simulator, hydraulic jacks. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. No, it's based on a flat and stationary Earth. And Liz the Iron Maiden says hi.
Hi,
I hope that... are you still in America with Cami? I hope that all is well. Nice to see you. Consider complacency as part of ignorance in a spiritual sense. Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, so you are. Okay, well, hi to Cami. And they still refer to that ring gyro experiment that Bob did as one of their kind of, we haven't proved this for ourselves, but a flat earther proved it, so that's all we need to know. We won't go and test that.
Festivus says the first lesson when learning to fly is called straight and level.
Like a spirit level, like Loch Ness, 35 kilometers of level. Oh, I mean flat. I mean level, right? Ruled by Saturn. How you doing? Cami says hi. She's busy. Well, that's good.
Good.
I guess it's still fairly early on your Friday there, so all of that.
I want to just do a little a call out to anybody who feels like they need to be held through something, if something's coming up for them. And I think that often we can't see when something's happening, when life's curating something in our life, or we're feeling something, that we can't see what the root to that is. And it's been my experience that when I have someone who can be the mirror and can hold space for me, especially if they've done that work, that being witnessed and being held through that has been incredibly transformative. And I'm so grateful I made those kind of steps. And trust me, there was many backwards and forwards. I'd go towards it, and then I'd get frightened, and that's obviously can be the ego that's like knows that it's going to step into something now. That means that there is a letting go needing to happen. But that Dave and I offer that kind of space holding for people who feel like they can't do it on their own anymore. That was certainly my experience too, that I needed support.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can bespoke that support. I'm still waiting or holding space for the feminine if they want to do some group work, or obviously one-to-one. And I also do work with the masculine too. Deb and I can do polarity work. But anyway, we will bespoke and have a chat with whoever it is as to what they need and how we can best support them.
There must be people where there are times when, because I know this from my own experience, where there are times when it's like, this has been dragged on for so long and has been going on, it's like there's so many things that are like can end up becoming very loud in the head, and we end up spending so much of our time lost in the head rather than getting into embodiment.
And for me, obviously, there's the astrology part. If someone's interested, there's so many. I mean, like I can see my chart at the moment. I've got quite a few transits at the moment, which mean that the stuff that I'm experiencing in the moment is meant to be experiencing it. And so I'm not going to say it isn't uncomfortable still, but it makes it easier to realize that, okay, this is something that I'm walking through at the moment, and how can I support myself? How can I lean into it? So that's also available if.
Well, Festivus Venus recommends Andrea sessions. Really helped me when I was on my backside. There you go. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm just putting that out there just as a reminder. We're always here. If you want to
I don't know if you're still there, Liz, but I wanted you to ask Cami if she or Bob had ever, or their genii over at the Globebusters, had ever tried to do or considered doing an experiment like this. I seem to remember some chatter about this years ago, but so you don't have to go back in the conversation. I was talking about it earlier, but this is my concept of running a pipe across a body of water 1 mile, for example, and then we fill the water up at one side, and once this cup is full, then the other cup should be on the same level. And if both of them are mounted exactly the same height above the point at which the water touches the surface, on a calm day it would be easier or more appropriate. Then we could, and then you could fire a laser across the pond just to reconfirm that, just as further evidence of the fact that it's horizontal, parallel to the water over a mile, and there should be the 8 inches. So anyway, that was what I thought. Tim Foster is meeting his first grandchild. Congratulations, Andrea. You helped me through the process of stepping into a new stage of my life at the Hope Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
nice one.
Sorry, I don't necessarily always put the names to the face. So that's amazing. I remember now, and I hope you're doing well. I knew that you were on the precipice of something, and you were needing to do some of that. Life was calling you to do some of that root cause work. So I hope that's all unfolding for you. But obviously a new soul will always help be the catalyst, if we choose, of course, because sometimes we can just continue to repeat the same patterns that were repeated with us unconsciously, of course. No one really, I think, well, most don't intentionally. I know I can only talk for me. I haven't intentionally wanted to put my children through anything, or put anything on them that they have to. But I also respect that, my children chose me. And when I look at their charts, I know they've come with their own journey and their own things to alchemize. And so we end up being teachers. And of course, this little grandchild is going to be one of your biggest teachers. We forget how wise children are. We think they come and they've got a lot to learn. Often they've got a lot to teach us. So.
Oh, yes, Andrea. Like I say, I love you both and look forward to seeing you again. Likewise, Tim. And congratulations to Liz, who is going to be a great grandmother. So that's some mileage there. Impressive. And yeah, just Nathan Squirrel Sniper said he was talking about simulators, and when you look at the simulation datum, it's stationary and level. And yeah, so we know. But I think we'll probably call it a night for tonight, and we'll be here next week.
We will. We won't have our tech man with us. He's going to do some.
We've given him the night off.
24-year-old life activities. So it'll just be us. So hopefully we know which buttons to press. But yeah, we'll be here.
Yeah.
We're always here if anybody wants to reach out and chat.
Yeah.
Then we're here.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to all those who've supported us and the Patreons who continue, but those who've supported us over the years. It's how we are where we are, you know, in a big part.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's like reprogramming the mind. Dave, the Romans use that. It's level, not flat. Yeah, thanks. Bless the Trinity family. Yeah, the family is good, and thank you for that, Nate. Yeah, so next Friday we will be with or without the tech, and but we'll hopefully see some of you on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Tuesday. If you aren't going down to Bournemouth and you're inspired to now, then get in touch with Flat Earth Social, and they can give you the details.
At the Bridge Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let me see if I can make sure I get. I love the stream. Sorry. Oh, that's all right. I think. We'll continue to do this anyway, and we'll see you next week. But it's I guess earlier morning for you guys. There, to be fair. I do sometimes think whether Friday night is the best time, whether maybe a Sunday night wouldn't fit better, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. And,
it's nice being here, nice having you here, and we'll speak soon. Take care of yourself. Lots of love.